I'm Johari Hamilton, and I am here to share my Hefty to Healthy testimony. First, I just want to thank God for the opportunity to share, and I want to thank God for Brittany Woods, who has put the Hefty to Healthy journey together for us and the viewers out there. So today I just want to share with you a little bit about how I went from hefty to healthy. My story is a story of not just being overweight in the natural or the physical, but also being overweight in my soul. And, the soul encompasses a lot. It's not just what you think. Most of us think either, our soul is just our mind, or our soul is the part of us that will be saved or lost. But the soul encompasses our emotions. It encompasses our will. It encompasses our imagination and our creativity. So many things are a part of the soul. In order for us to function, we need a healthy soul. Well, my soul was hefty. It was weighed down, and it was so full of things that had not been dealt with. Pain and hurt and disappointment, regret, guilt, shame, disappointments, discouragement, things that just were almost like trapped inside of me that I never dealt with. I either pushed them down or I wasn't aware of them, but they were there. They were either lying dormant or I was functioning through them. And just as so many of us do, we cope with things and we just go on. Well, eventually it caught up with me. And I don't know if you watched the last segment, which was my interview, but I had an aha moment. And it was started back in 2001. I woke up one day, I was in a bad relationship. It was actually a marriage, and it was coming to an end. And I woke up and looked in the mirror, and I asked myself, who is this person? I didn't even recognize who I was. It had gotten that bad. Even over time, it was a subtle thing, but when I looked in the mirror that day, I was like, I don't know who this is. How did it get this bad? How did I get here? And I began to think to myself, how can I get out of this? And in that moment, I knew that what I was facing was too much for me. It was too great for me. Because I wasn't just looking in the face of weight, like I said, natural weight. I was looking in the face of a soul weight. When we talk about fat, a lot, I work in the medical field, and people talk about fat, and we always talk about the blood test that measures our fat content. And that blood test shows us the good fat and the bad fat, where you can have good and bad fat, even in your soul. You could be fat in love. You could be fat in joy. You can be fat in peace. You could be fat in encouragement. You could be fat in just, hopefulness. You could be fat in your outlook. But I didn't have that type of fat in my soul. My soul had the bad fat. The good fats actually help your body because you need fat in order to function. You need fat. You burn fat, and you burn it's an energy. Well, I didn't have that in my soul. I had the bad fat, the fat that pulls you down, the fat that makes you motionless, the fat that makes your organs sick. Well, that's the fat that was in my soul. So that fat was the fat of guilt, the fat of not having that peace that I needed. It was a confusion or a place of darkness. I had the fat of despair. I had the fat of depression. So those things had become so big that it was smothering out the joy that I should have had or the peace that I should have had. So examining myself, and that's the key in one of the keys in this testimony is to just examine yourself and see where you are. And I had to do that. And in doing that, I found that, oh my gosh, I cannot do this. How do I trim the fat off of my soul that has been caused by all of these different things? And the only thing that I could do in that moment was pray. And so I said, Lord, please, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. All I know is I'm here at this place at this point in my life, and I don't even really realize how I got here. So after I prayed, it still wasn't easy, but I did get an answer. The Lord answered me, and when you pray, He will answer. If you're earnest about what you're asking Him, if your heart is open, He'll answer. And so I thank God that in that moment, I did get an answer. And the answer was not just to immediately, because I was overweight in the natural. It wasn't just, all you have to do is exercise and eat right, because that wasn't my only problem. So I had to listen to what the Holy Spirit was telling me to do. And the first thing that I had to do was ask God to come into this area of my life. And that's what I did. I said, okay, so what is the agenda, Lord? What do I need to do? I know that I probably need to cut calories. I know that I probably need to exercise. But I want you to tell me the agenda. So this is where I started my journey. After years of emotional eating. And that's what I would do. If something was bothering me, I went to the refrigerator or the cupboard. If I was unhappy or unsatisfied, I went to the refrigerator or the cupboard. And of course, I was not going to eat carrot sticks. I was going to eat something that was good to my palate, like cookies and potato chips and dip and, all of those things, French fries. I mean, those were my favorite things. Why? Because they were satisfying. And just like any other addiction or habit that feeds that hurt or that pain or subdues something that you don't want to deal with, that's what I did with food. So when I went to God and said, look, I don't know what to do. How am I going to reverse the habits that I've started, those things that are satisfying, the things that I'm addicted to? What do I do? And so He first said, you have to replace them with good habits. So in that time of just starting the journey, it was very hard. It was very hard because that things don't go away overnight. So in starting the journey, I said, okay, it took a lot of prayer. And it took a lot of strength from not me, but from God. I had to rely on His strength. And that's where I began to build momentum in the journey early on. And so the first thing I began to do, like I said, I prayed first. And I tell people this all the time. People that will see me, that haven't seen me in a while. Oh my gosh, girl, what did you do? And I'll say, I have to be honest. And I have to be transparent. And I can take no credit for myself. The first thing that I did was pray. And that's what I tell people, because that's the truth. If it wasn't for God's goodness, if it wasn't for the Lord, I would not have been able to meet that challenge. It was too great of a challenge for me. So I prayed first. The second thing that I did was I wrote down the things that He told me to write down to do. Like I said, I was an emotional eater. So I would go to the refrigerator. I had to put no on the refrigerator. I had to put a picture of myself on the refrigerator, because I would go to the refrigerator and still want to eat emotionally. If something happened that day at work, if my kids were acting up, or if, just the thought of the relationship that I was getting out of, all of these things were in my, day-to-day thoughts. So I would either go to the cupboard and go, and I'd be tempted to get that sleeve of Oreos. But I had to look at the notes that I wrote myself. I had to remind myself. And I would say that the biggest thing that helped me in this journey was to renew my mind. I had to renew those old thoughts that said, yes, this is going to satisfy you. So I had to write, like I said, I had to write notes to myself. I had to write, the joy of the Lord is your strength. I had to put that on the refrigerator just to keep me from, overindulging. And then I did. I replaced bad foods with good foods. But still, you'll do that and you'll say, well, I'll eat carrot sticks. But you can still eat carrot sticks emotionally. You can still say, I got to have something, so I'm going to go get those carrot sticks. So I said, well, Lord, I'm still eating carrot sticks or rice cakes, and I'm still not doing it, because it's a day-to-day, moment-by-moment journey. It doesn't happen, like I said, it doesn't happen overnight. So I still had to ask for the Lord's help day by day, moment by moment. And one thing He said to me through prayer that came so suddenly was, connect with me. you need to take the time away from the refrigerator, away from the cupboard, no matter what you're going to eat. Replace that with my word. Replace that with inspirational books. Replace that with writing, inspirational. I write poems. I started writing inspirational poems. I started doing things. And then he told me, go for a walk. I began to walk 3 miles. At first I started off a mile, but I got up to 3 miles a day. And while I would walk, I would talk to God. I would say, Lord, I would tell him all about my cares that day, the concerns I had. The Bible says, cast all your cares on him. I would do that during that moment, during those times. My kids would be at a park. I would go to this park that my kids could play at while I walked. And I'd let them play, and I'd walk, and I'd talk, and I'd walk, and I'd talk, and I'd walk, and I'd talk. And eventually, like, it became a habit. And I couldn't wait to get off work and go get the kids, get their homework done, and go to the park and go walk and talk with God. And so that became a habit instead of the habit of going to the cupboard or the refrigerator once I got home from work, or piling up in the bed with a sleeve of Chips Ahoy cookies and giving my kids 2 apiece while I eat the rest of them, and eating a whole bag of Lay's potato chips while I watch Lifetime. That was the habit before, but God said replace that with a God habit. And that's what I did. I replaced it with building my relationship with him. And as I did that, that did become a habit. You know, they say anything you do for 21 days or 30 days can become a habit. So I did it. I did it over and over every day until it did become a habit, until I longed for that time. And I began to see results. And when you begin to see results, then you really get motivated, and your hope really is like boosted. So my hope was boosted. I was all geared up. But we always have this plateau period where it's like nothing. And so I did go through that, and I was like, okay, Lord, what is it? I'm plateauing, not just plateauing in my natural weight, but I'm plateauing in my soul. You know, it's like a dry place, or it's like like I said, no motion. And God told me, you know, I was praying one night, and I was like, okay, what am I to do now? What is the next step? And he said, you got to rev it up. You got to push harder. Just like a personal trainer would tell you. He would say, okay, well, now it's time to change some things. You got to push your body a little bit more in this area, you know. And that's what I began to do. I pushed my soul. And boy, was that something. Pushing the soul means allowing God to, you got to open up and allow God to see all that ugly. He sees it anyway. But you got to choose and be willing for him to look into it like a doctor and say, oh, yeah, you have this, you got that, and I see this, and I see that darkness, and I see this place. And once he does that, then you got to be willing to say, fix it. Because you can't do it on your own. I couldn't do it. So what I did, I said, oh, my God, and it was scary. It was a very scary time for me, because this meant that all of those things I hadn't dealt with, all of those things I'd suppressed, were going to come back up. And they did. And I cried, and my walks turned from just talking to God about my day to crying about those things that were in my soul. And crying out and going, Lord, you know, yes, this was here, and this person hurt me, and, you know, I hadn't forgiven that person. And as he was revealing these things, I had to deal with them, and deal with them to the point that I opened up and began to let him go and let him work on me. And he did, bit by bit. And like a wonderful father that he is, he didn't do it all at once. You know, I often tell people that, I've shared this as of late. I had a dream, and in the dream, I was in an operating room. And of course, when you dream, you may be in the dream, but you're also looking, because you are the one that is having the dream. So I was looking into the dream and seeing what was going on, but I was on the operating room. I was in the operating room on the table, and there was the doctors and the nurses and the techs and everybody, anesthesia, and I was out, and they cut me open in my abdomen. And when they cut straight down and used the calipers to hold me open. And when they looked in, everybody looked in, and I did too. And when we looked in, we saw a tree trunk. And it was a big, huge trunk, and it had roots. And I said, oh my God, get that out of me, as I was looking in the dream. But I was still asleep on the table. And there was either a nurse or a tech that told the doctor, drill. And they picked the drill up. Or it was like a saw, like an electric type of saw or drill. And the doctor said, oh no, we can't do that. We have to take this out very carefully, or it could mess up her other organs. And I had that dream about 5-6 years ago. And the way I take that dream is that God took each little piece of the areas of my soul that were either tainted or bruised or broken or dark. He didn't do it all at once. He took one piece at a time, because he knew that if he just took it all out, it would be too much for me. So he took one area at a time. So my weight story is, I started in 2001 on my journey, the journey of the soul, the weight of my soul and the weight of my body. Because as Brittany said in my interview, or as we were talking, your body is a direct reflection of what's going on in your soul. And that's what was going on in me. That may not be for everyone, but for most of us, if you would examine yourself, you would find something in your soul that is reflected in your body, whether it's your attitude, whether it's your perspective, whether it's, your outlook, or just your day-to-day, the way you deal with things on a day-to-day basis. It is a direct reflection of what's going on in your soul. And so from 2001, and I really want you to hear this, because I've known people from this time who have lost weight physically and gone up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, because they didn't deal with the root of the problem. They didn't deal with the real issue that lied in their soul. So from 2001 to 2007, it took 6 years for me actually to lose the weight of my soul, or begin that process to lift my soul and free my soul to a place where I was lighter, a place where I was, like when you lose weight, you become more flexible. Everything wasn't bothering me, and I began to see those things. And that's about the time that I had that dream. And God showed me, I've dealt with you from 2001 to 2007. I've been working bit by bit by bit to free you, to take the fat of your soul out, and to make you lean in your soul, so that you can be flexible, so that you can enjoy life, so that you can be healthy. And so I just want to share today that if you have something going on in your soul, I hope that my testimony can actually help you overcome. The Word of God says we overcome by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so today, my testimony is that if you have weight in your soul, regardless it could be one weight, it could be several things that have weighed you down in your soul. But God is able to take that weight. He's able to, like he said, cast your cares on me. He's able to make your soul lean. But first you have to be willing to open up. And like I said, yes, I did have some physical things I had to do. I cut down my calorie intake. I walked 3 miles. I got up to 3 miles a day in 45 minutes. I walked 15-minute miles a day. I exercised. I did cardio. I got books that were, one of the books I bought was Slim Down Sister, and I watched videos and did things that had to do with the body. But I also dealt with the soul, and I allowed God to do that. And instead of going to the refrigerator or the cupboard when I was feeling down, I lifted my head up to Christ, and I said, Lord, I need your help. You are my strength, and this is the only way that I'm going to get through this. And so the relationship that I had with him and built with him over from 2001 to 2007 is what you see now. This is the finished product, and I know some of you saw the pictures when right before the video opened, and you can see how the weight in my soul actually affected my body. Yes, that is me. It is me. And one thing Brittany asked me, because I have on a hat in a couple of the photos, she was like, you like hats on? And I was like, well, I was trying to cover it up. I tried to put on things to cover up the weight but no, the weight couldn't be covered up. The weight of my soul was expressed in my body. So I just want you to know today that whom the Son sets free is free indeed. Today I am free, and I'm still on the journey. You never stop being on the journey of a relationship with God that affects every part of your being, your body, your soul, and your spirit. You need that relationship, and you need to stay on that journey in order to fulfill the purpose that He has for you. So I hope you've been blessed by my testimony. Like I said, I thank God for this avenue, Hefty to Healthy, a way for us to support one another, encourage one another, and motivate one another holistically in how to connect with God, have a relationship with Him, and have healthy lives. Thank you.